Okay, well, welcome everyone to the Finance Committee meeting for April 19th, 2021. As you note, this is the Finance Committee meeting prior to the City Council meeting. I'm guessing it may be 30 minutes before we start the City Council meeting, so we hope you'll stay with us to talk about the budget and some of the other financial matters for the city. But we'll proceed with Director Holub calling the roll, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mayor Panaleon?
Here.
Chairman Morris?
Here.
Alderman Karas?
Here.
Alderman Rummel?
Here.
Alderman Notes?
Here.
Alderman Preschlack?
Here.
Alderman Gushgarian?
Here.
Alderman Bushman?
Here.
Alderman Weber?
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Very good. The first item of business is the consideration of the minutes from the meeting held on March 8th, 2021. Does anyone have any questions or comments about the minutes that were provided? Okay, if not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
A second? Director Halb, I think we need another roll call.
We do. Mayor Panaleon?
Aye.
Chairman Morris?
Aye.
Alderman Karas?
Aye.
Alderman Rummel?
Aye.
Alderman Notes?
Aye.
Alderman Preschlack?
Aye.
Alderman Gushgarian?
Aye.
Alderman Bushman?
Aye.
Alderman Weber?
Aye.
By a vote of 9-0, the minutes are approved.
Very good, thanks very much. The second item on our agenda is the comprehensive fiscal plan for 2022. And I just have some preliminary comments before I turn it over to Director Holland. And with regard to those comments, I just wanted to say that this is really an outstanding document. The city manager and Director Holland have done a great job with the staff to put together an amazing book with a tremendous amount of detail for everyone to look at. So not only is it a financial look forward, but it's an excellent summary of the past pandemic year. And if you look at the results, you'll see that we had a strong financial result, even though we had a very conservative forecast. So it's really quite impressive. I thought it's interesting to look back on some of the revenue trends. So if you've looked back, you don't have to do it right now, but on page 44, Director Howell provided a summary of the budget going back to almost 2010. But if you just look at 2014, our revenue budget for 2014 was $90 million. This year, the 2022 budget, our revenue budget is $22 million, which is a 2% increase over 8 years, which is pretty remarkable. On the expenditure side, if you look back to that same 2014, on page 47, you'll see the expenditure budget was $83 million, and the 2022 budget will be $91 million. So that's a 10% increase over 10 years. So you'll see in the budget this gradual erosion of our revenue trend by an accelerated expense trend, and Director Howell will talk about that. So it's something we have to be careful about, but it's been a remarkable trend over those 8 years of how we've managed our budget. You'll see that what the directive and the city manager put in place in terms of controlling expenses. And the other thing I want to point out is it's a remarkable strategic objective. If you look at each department and what their strategic goals, the residents, if they look at it carefully, can see exactly what it is their tax dollars and our revenue, exactly what's being paid for in each of those departments. So they get a really good appreciation for what's going on in our municipal government. So well done to Jason, Elizabeth, and the city staff on this budget. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Director Holub for your comments.
Thank you, Chairman Morris. We will have a brief formal presentation of the comprehensive fiscal plan as part of the City Council agenda. But I did just want to note for the committee's information, the budget book that you received on April 12th was also made available on the city's website on April 12th. So the public have had an opportunity over the last week to review the same document that you've had for your review. I did provide in the packet a summary of the significant changes that were made as a result of discussion in your committee meeting on March 8th. I won't go through those again, but I think those were all concurrent with of the committee at your March meeting. I would be happy to answer any questions that you have about the budget document at this time or as part of the city council agenda, whichever you prefer.
Any comments from the committee members? Questions, observations? Okay. Well, in that case, I would entertain a motion to approve the comprehensive fiscal plan for fiscal year 2022. A motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Director Holub, roll call.
Mayor Panelian,
Aye.
Chairman Morris,
Aye.
Alderman Karas,
Aye.
Alderman Rummel,
Aye.
Alderman Notes,
Aye.
Alderman Preschlack,
Aye.
Alderman Goshgarian,
Aye.
Alderman Bushman,
Aye.
Alderman Weber.
Aye.
By a vote of 9-0, the motion is approved, and then we'll have formal action by the city council at your meeting immediately following the finance committee.
Very good, yes. Director has a group of slides that will go through the budget in a little more detail so that people who may be dialing in at that point can see that. The next item on our agenda is the Supplemental Appropriation Ordinance for fiscal 2021. Director Holub, you want to comment on this?
Certainly, thank you. This is another item that is included on your city council agenda this evening. We just wanted to provide a brief introduction. In addition to the budget being approved by the city council each year, you also formally adopt an appropriation ordinance in the first quarter of the fiscal year. Typically, that is at your second meeting in July. That appropriation ordinance is the legal mechanism for authorizing the expenses included in the budget. As you will likely recall, we put a 10% additional amount in there in order to address any contingencies or items that come up through the year that were not anticipated in the budget. At the end of the year, as part of our budget development process, we asked the operating departments to provide us estimates for their year-end actual expenses. So finance looks at personnel related, and then the operating departments submit their year-end estimates for each individual non-personnel account in their budget. This gives us a better feel for where there may be unanticipated expenses that would be requiring a supplemental appropriation. For this year, we have two funds for which we're requesting a supplemental appropriation ordinance. The first one is the Laurel Western Redevelopment TIF Fund, and this is actually good news. So the property tax increment related to the Laurel Western Avenue TIF came in higher than budget. And under state statute, the city is required to make a payment to School District 67 and School District 115 based on a formula of students that reside within the TIF district. So because of the increased property tax increment, that will also increase the payment to be made to both the school districts at the end of the year. So we're requesting the supplemental appropriation of $200,000 to cover that payment. The second request is related to the Water and Sewer Capital Fund. That requested supplemental appropriation is $150,000. That is driven largely by two unanticipated items in fiscal year 21. The first was approved by the City Council in September to main break repairs of about $85,000 that were required and approved. And the second item is actually on your agenda this evening related to the acquisition of property. That additional unanticipated expense would necessitate supplemental appropriation requested of the $150,000. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have at this point or at the city council agenda when this item comes up.
Questions from the members? Alderman Rummel.
Can you talk a little bit about what's going on there with this TIF fund. Now, has it yet been reassessed by the assessor since the sale?
Of the apartments?
Yes.
Yes. So we have had ongoing discussions with the Shields Township assessor regarding the fact that the apartments were sold in June of 2020 at a very high amount. The apartments are not automatically reassessed at that value. They can't follow a sale related to a commercial property. They have to do a revenue expense analysis. And so we have been in discussions with them about the impact that the apartment sale will have on future tax increment. We did not see that until the 21 levy collected in 2022, because the sale came after the January 1, 20 valuation that relates to taxes collected in 21. So there's a bit of a time delay on that, but yes, we are actively engaged in conversations with the Shields Township assessor about how those, in fact, all the properties within the TIF district are being assessed and adjusted each year.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very good. Any other questions from members for the director? If not, could I have a motion to approve the supplemental appropriations ordinance for fiscal year 2021?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Director Holub, a roll call.
Mayor Panelian,
Aye.
Chairman Morris,
Aye.
Alderman Karas,
Aye.
Alderman Rummel,
Aye.
Alderman Notes,
Aye.
Alderman Preschlack,
Aye.
Alderman Gashgarian,
Aye.
Alderman Bushman,
Aye.
and Alderman Weber.
Aye.
By a vote of 9-0, the supplemental appropriation ordinance is also approved. And again, that will be on your city council agenda this evening.
Very good. The next item on our agenda is the purchasing policy review. And as you know, the last couple of years, we've made a lot of efforts to tighten that up and improve the policies and the procedures within that. So I'm going to turn this back to Director Holub to talk about the policy review.
Thank you, Chairman Morris. Many of you will likely recall that in fiscal year 20, we actually formed an interdepartmental committee with representatives from each operating department who met for a series of meetings over the course of the fiscal year to look at the purchasing policy and related policies to bring a comprehensive review and comprehensive set of recommendations to the Finance Committee. That was presented to you last April at your Finance Committee meeting and approved by the City Council for fiscal year 21. So many of those changes having occurred last year, we really had no operational issues come up that needed to be addressed as part of the purchasing policy, but it does require that the Finance Committee review the purchasing policy every year. So we have it included in your packet, and there are no recommended changes for fiscal year 22. I will note that Alderman Bushman did raise a question related to competitive bidding, and we did vet that internally, had some conversations with Public Works Director Thomas, and I think we're all in agreement that no new language or revised language was required. But thank you, Alderman Bushman, for that question.
Yes, thank you, Ray. You're always doing a detailed review of those things, but go ahead.
Well, I do appreciate the conversation, and what triggered it is part of the Public Works Committee meeting where we do review quite a few contracts over the course of the year. We do encounter situations where the lowest bidder may not be the right bidder. And I wanted to make sure that we felt that the language we have here provides for the flexibility. Obviously, we want to give a lot of due deference to the lowest bidder. If we can't go with the lowest bidder, do it. It's in the interest of our citizens and the taxpayer to do so. But on the other hand, it may not be the right bidder for the job. And so I appreciate the comments back and the additional flexibility we have under our current language in dealing with professional services, being one of the recent examples, dealing with some engineering services. So thank you for your help and helping me through it.
Certainly.
Thanks for your oversight on that item. That was very good. Other comments or questions from members? If not, could I have a motion to approve the purchasing policy review?
Moved.
Second?
Second.
All right. Director Holub, one more time on the roll call.
Okay, Mayor Panelian,
Aye.
Chairman Morris,
Aye.
Alderman Karas,
Aye.
Alderman Rummel,
Aye.
Alderman Notes.
Aye.
Alderman Preschlack,
Aye.
Alderman Goshgarian,
Aye.
Alderman Bushman,
Aye.
Alderman Weber.
Aye.
By a vote of 9-0, the motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Then we'll go on to other business. I'm going to ask Director Holub to comment on the flash report. If you looked at it, our revenues were, I think, 107% of our budget, while the expenses were 67%. Maybe you want to comment on that and what you see for the end of the year?
We included is the March flash report, and we provided a summary, not only comparing budget, but also comparing those estimates that I spoke to earlier in the meeting. So we had forecast, several of our revenues to come in over budget, and positively, you can see that some of those revenues are actually even doing better than the forecast. So we will be back to you in July to report on year-end financials. But everything is trending nicely. There's no significant changes from the flash report you saw last month. Although I would note that real estate transfer tax has once again turned around and is heating up once again. We had 20 transactions in February, and we had 60 transactions in March.
Whoa.
So after a little bit of a slowdown over the winter, which we always see, we are picking up right where we left off this spring, and March was a very busy month for us.
And there was a big sale in Conway Farms, I think, correct?
We did have that earlier in the year. Yes, we did. That was a commercial that, yes.
Yeah. Very
And we
good.
had both the apartments in June, and then the property in Conway Park that both generated significant commercial sales
Right.
for us this year.
Excellent. Any questions on the flash report from the members?
Chairman Morris, I just do have a question about those real estate transfers. How are we faring compared to our sister communities?
I'll have to defer to Director Holub. I don't know if she's had a chance to look at that, but
That is a great question. I don't know, but we have a group of Lake County finance directors that get together once a month, and our April meeting is coming up. So I'll bring that up on the agenda for us to chat about, to see if some of our neighboring communities are seeing the same thing, or if our situation is unique. Excellent question.
very good.
I can note, I remember seeing last fall, so admittedly the data's 5-6 months old at this point, that Lake Forest was one of the top 2 communities in the entire Chicagoland area as they measured year-over-year growth. So I don't know exactly what that says comparatively, because each community has different bases that they were working off of, and obviously our market was a little slower pre-COVID, but for what it's worth, I think again, the performance of the real estate market here is as strong, if not stronger, than anywhere you'll find in the Chicagoland area.
Very good. The second item on other business is the investment policy review. We continually look at it. It was last revised in 2019, but any questions or concerns about our investment policies from the members? If not, Chairman, Ray, go ahead.
It's a topic I raised under a different setting with Elizabeth, in an earlier time, and that goes to, the return on our investments. And I think the comment came up when we were talking about the loan arrangement that we were thinking of. Um, and I take it, just to expand for the benefit of all the council, our reserve funds are included under this investment policy, and the investment policy does limit it to what's called low risk fixed income type of investments. About what sort of return are we looking at now with that sort of investment? I know you said it's not good. We can get better at 2.5%, but where are we at now? And is the prognosis, is what they seem to be saying, that the interest rates are going up, something we can look forward to?
Well, I certainly hope that we can look forward to interest rates going up. I'll say that in the fixed income market, I mean, we do track. I know I've said it before, we have a very, very good relationship with Lake Forest Bank and Trust, and they give us a very, very competitive rate, and they fully collateralize our deposits. And so there's generally been, in this low rate environment, very, very little yield that can be achieved from purchasing a treasury or purchasing a certificate of deposit compared to what we're receiving. We're getting, just looked it up, in March, our rate was 38 basis points with Lake Forest Bank and Trust. And when we compare those to other investments available to us, we'd have to tie up funds by about 3 years right now to get that interest rate. And so it really just doesn't pay to purchase any investments and tie up those funds for an extended period of time. The hope is that the cash will be available, and when interest rates rise, we'll have the ability to lock in investments at a higher rate.
You raised another point there. I think I read where, as part of so-called spreading the risk, that we're limited to no more than 35% of our investments in any one financial institution. Does that apply for what we're talking about with Lake Forest Bank, even though we have another provision says that we should recognize local financial institutions and give them appropriate credit? But are we locked into only 35% through Wintrust and Lake Forest Bank?
So Alderman Bushman, that relates to the actual investment products. So for example, certificates of deposit, it's investments that would not be covered through a collateral agreement. And so with Lake Forest Bank and Trust having a full collateral agreement, that risk is not there. That would be there if we exceeded FDIC insurance limits with a certificate of deposit.
Okay, thank you.
And Alderman Bush, I just want to point out, that's a great question. It's a little bit double-edged in the sense that, yes, we get better interest rates in our corporate funds, but the pension bond funds for the police and fire will take a hit when those interest rates go up. So that means we have to pay more to them in return for the higher returns in our corporate funds.
There's also a negative impact to the consumer who wants to borrow with higher interest rates too. Yes, it's a double-edged sword, but we're just dealing to the one side where we're the investor.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. All great points. Any further comments?
Well, the one thing to keep in mind is interest rates have more than doubled in the last 6 or 8 months. So, the rate on 10-year treasuries was about 0.7 in November, and now it's 1.7. So rates have gone up significantly. They're just still really low.
Yeah, from very small to kind of small.
Right.
All right. If there are no other comments, I'd like to open it up to the public. If there's anyone out there who would like to address the Finance Committee, either by raising their hand or I think you're going to post the number, calling 847-810-3643. So call that or raise your hand or wait for the City Council meeting.
Mr. Chairman, there are no raised hands at this time.
Very good. Thank you.
Chairman, we have no phone callers at the moment.
Very good. Well, hopefully at the city council meeting, we'll have some of those. That brings us to the end of our April 19th City Finance Committee meeting. So if there are no other questions, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Very good. We'll take a short break. Mayor Pandalone come back in 7:05. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's good.
All right, 7:05 for the city council meeting. Thank you, everybody.